Hi everyone, welcome back to the channel. It's good to see you again. So, before we get started on today's video, I just want to remind you all to kindly hit that subscribe button down below and click the notifications bell as you do so. I'm closing in slowly but surely on 9,000 subscribers, and you and your support can help me to achieve that. So do ring the bell, click subscribe, you're helping me so much. Awesome. Give this video and any others you might be watching a thumbs up also if you've enjoyed them. That helps me with the YouTube algorithm so much. Anyhow, you'll notice I am in the comfy chair today, which means this is not going to be demo time, it's going to be talky time, and I wanted to share with you some recent developments in my own life, on my own day-to-day journey, specifically around my youngest son Oliver and his autism, which I've talked about before. I'll link to other videos where I've talked about Oliver's journey. But a lot has happened in the last 2 or so months, and just wanted to give you an update and share with you how that's impacted on me and my wife and my oldest son, and where we're at right now. So if you've watched some of my videos before on this topic, you'll recall that Oliver had made a lot of great progress and had returned to school almost full time. It had taken a long time to build up that trust by his wonderful teaching assistant and teacher coming to our house daily to build up that relationship with him and slowly but surely get him back into attending school after he'd stopped going after the pandemic 4 years ago. And this started bit by bit, getting him to go outside the house, which he very rarely did, and go to the teaching assistant's car, then get in the car, then go around the street and back again, then taking him to Lidl, which is a store in the United Kingdom, if you've not heard of Lidl, L-I-D-L, then going into Lidl, doing some shopping, coming back home, gradually expanding that out until they took him out, went to Lidl, bought some shopping, took it to the school. He didn't go into the school, and then slowly into the school, and then you can see where this got to. Now, this was going so well up until the recent holiday period, in half term as we call it in the UK, which was around May time, and we'd got into some patterns, some habits, routines with Oliver in terms of his school attendance. Slowly but surely this started building up with him and his classmates regular activities, and these were quite fun activities such as going to visit a local park, going to a local soft play, going out on the bus basically and doing fun things as opposed to trying to do any learning and education. So this was all going almost too well, and my wife Louise and I, knowing Oliver as we do, better than anyone in the 14 years he's been in our lives, we never quite relaxed into that, because we knew, knowing him, that this could all change like that. And then we broke up for the week of holiday in May, and then when it came to go back on the following Monday, we immediately knew that we were going to have problems, because they changed the activities. The activities were rotated per term. So they stopped doing these things. They stopped going to that soft play. They stopped going to that park. And it was all dependent on when they could get access to the school bus for that group of children in Oliver's class. So once Oliver got back to attending school that week after the break, he quickly realized that things were different and he wasn't happy about it. And he started gradually pushing back on attending on days where he knew it was going to be more work focused and less fun things. And that started building up, and the teacher would come to collect him every morning as usual. And he would start saying, Oliver doesn't go to school today, or he would start introducing illnesses, saying Oliver's tummy is poorly today, or Oliver has a nose cold. That was an interesting one. Oliver doesn't go to school today. And I always, when I describe this to people, I always feel like it sounds ridiculous when I'm saying it to others, and others will think that, well, why don't you just make him go? If only it were as simple as that. Nobody can make Oliver do something that he doesn't want to do. And Louise and I now feel very validated in that we've had a number of professionals in social services and LD CAMS, which is a support service within the National Health Service here in the UK, and within the school as well. We've had a lot of recognition from those professionals who get to know him that exactly that, you can't make Oliver do anything that he doesn't want to do. So it's not us just being too lenient with him or missing something obvious. We're not, as we feel we are sometimes, bad parents for not being able to get him to do these things. But yeah, when the teacher would arrive after these changes, Oliver would hide away upstairs, lock himself in his bedroom, and refuse to allow his teacher to come in, and said, he's very blunt and rude actually in his determination not to cooperate, and he would say to his teaching, he said, go away. He would be that blunt. Oliver's not coming today. So slowly but surely we found ourselves back to square one, and the teachers and everyone else have found themselves in the position we found so often over the years, of that scratching our heads. What do we do now? Just when you think you've cracked the code, that is Oliver, he moves the goalposts and sets you right back to where you started from. It's like spending months and months and months building a house brick by brick, and then all of a sudden somebody comes along and knocks it down. It really feels like that. It's very demoralizing, and the little bit of freedom that Oliver going to school creates for you as a family, especially for my wife, is suddenly snatched away, because she was able to do things in his absence. She was able to go out for walks with her dad and all sorts of other good stuff, and now we don't have that anymore. Thank goodness, touch wood, because again, this could change at any time. We still, at the moment, as I record this, it's a Saturday, and every Saturday and Sunday Oliver goes to his grandparents' house, and that gives us, my wife and I, a bit of respite. He goes for from about 8:30 in the morning and returns at around about 1:45. This has been going on quite consistently for a good long while. The time has gradually moved back earlier in the day, and that's because, if I've never told you this before, this is just so weird. There'll be a logical reason in his mind why he does this, but Oliver doesn't exist in the same time that we do. On his devices, his iPhone, his iPads, he has set his time on those devices to be about 1 hour and 10 minutes ahead of us. That's what it is right now. It started out being a little bit further ahead than us by a few minutes, and he's gradually increased this over time. If he keeps on doing this, he's going to be in a different day to us. I don't know quite how that's going to end up, but at the moment, he's 1 hour and a bit ahead of us. So in his mind, he's coming home at 3 o'clock on his devices, but it's not. It's really about 1:45, which is utterly bizarre. We have no real appreciation of why that is the case. It's working out for us in some ways, because Oliver now goes to bed much earlier than he used to. In his mind, he goes to bed at 10:30, but it's much earlier now, and believe me, Louise and I are ready for bed on an evening much earlier than 10:30. So the fact that we can go to bed in the 9s now is most welcome. But that's a bizarre quirk of Oliver's for sure. So the effect of this has been quite significant, as you could understand. We've been sort of waiting for this to happen because we know Oliver, but also when it does happen, there's that feeling of failure, that feeling of disappointment, that we've lost some freedoms that we've got back in our lives. Because when he's with us in the house, everything is so structured, everything is so demanding and rigid. Things have to be done at a certain time, in a certain way, and it's really a struggle to change that. We can't drive that change anyway. All of the change comes from him. So now, during the weekday, I come to work in here in the garden office, or or more often than not lately, because my job has changed quite dramatically lately. I've taken a bit of a step up at Insight, which I'm delighted about and really grateful for. But it's made it so there's more travel for me in recent weeks. It's Saturday as I record this, but this coming Monday, the 8th of July, will be the 7th or 8th straight week that I've had some travel involved. So I'll be in Manchester with work this week, and I've enjoyed that so much. I really have enjoyed that. I feel guilty because it's given me some freedoms away from this routine and this control that Louise doesn't have. And I caught myself saying the other night after I'd returned last week from London, I said to Louise, do you know, that little time away from home really makes you appreciate it so much more. And she sort of raised her eyebrows at me as if to say, like, really, Peter? Have you forgotten what my life's like? And I felt so bad because she doesn't have that freedom. Far less than I do. We can plan certain things, little walks out when Oliver's at his grandparents at a weekend, or occasional little city breaks. We went to London last year. We're going to try and do that again this year, and see some musicals and take in some culture, that sort of thing. But it's all too rare for Louise because of planning, logistics, fear of it all going wrong, the expense of it, and the stress of it. And yeah, so it's hit hard, and the regression of Oliver, as I will describe it here, has left me feeling quite anxious, a little down at times. Not going to lie, a lot down at times. Let's not sugarcoat it. I've encountered my depression on and off very significantly during this regression. It's important to share that. I'm always very passionate about sharing that and not hiding that, because we should feel free to express that in these times that we live in. But I have felt anxious since this has happened, and since I've been away a bit more from home. What this has also resulted in, and this is quite significant, is my oldest son, who is 17 and at college now. He has been staying with his grandparents full time for almost 7 weeks now, because you might recall that preparing meals in our house is not easy. Oliver is not a fan of any appliances in the kitchen. We can't use the washing machine, so we use a laundry service, which, hey, it's really nice. Your clothes come back freshly smelling great, ironed. It's beautiful, but it's extra expense. But we can't use our washing machine because it terrifies him, and so that's one thing we can't use. If we want to cook anything in an oven or a microwave or on the gas hob, Oliver has to come in here with me whilst that is completed. And everyone eats different meals, of course. Oliver eats the different thing to my oldest son, and he eats different things to Louise and I. So the number of times we end up in here cooking different meals at different times for different people, it adds up, and it adds to the stress. So to minimize that stress, when I'm been traveling away, my oldest son has gone to stay with his grandparents, and as my travel continued week after week after week, he's just not come home. At this point in time, it feels like he's actually moved out, maybe, but so it's affected him. I mean, he's very happy, he's getting looked after there, where we don't have any concerns there, but we do miss him, because he should be at home with us. But so it's impacted all of us in a different way, and it makes you very tired, very stressed, very anxious, depressed at times. Moods are changeable. Louise and I both feel that, and we get feelings of low mood at different times of the day, actually. For me, it's in the morning. It hits me in the morning when I wake up. It's that feeling of, how am I going to get through this day today? I feel that when I first wake up, and it takes the first couple of coffees and getting ready and dressed and coming in here and getting on with my calls. Once I start getting into my work day, I'm usually fine. But that dread of another day, it can be awful. And I feel like that a lot of days. Not every day, but a lot of days. For Louise, it's more around tea time. as we call it in the UK, around 5, 6 p.m, that time of day, because that's when there's the most sort of busyness of evening meals and evening chaos. If my older son is here, he eats at different times to us, so it's in and out of the shed with Oliver as meals are prepared for me and Louise, and for Oliver, and then for my older son. And then my older son might want to go out somewhere. I have to ferry him about. I'm Dad's taxi. I'm taking him for his haircut later today, so I'll get to see him, which is nice. I'll pick him up from his grandparents and take him for his haircut. But it's been weird. It's been very, very weird. That combined with the step up in my responsibilities at work, which is exciting. There are some daunting aspects of that, but I got a lot of support, a lot of trust. It's a lot going on. It's a lot to process. So you can see how that's where we're at right now in our day-to-day lives, and it's wow, it's a lot. So yeah, I thought I'd just relay all that. I won't drain too much more of that content and try and squeeze any more out of it. That's probably about as much as I need to share right now, but it's been really hard. I've had a lot of support, as always, from friends and family and work colleagues, the community, the MVP community and the wider community. It's been great. It always is. It's hard for people to understand, I think, which is why I try and relate all this at times, because people ask quite often with good intentions, well, have you tried this? Have you tried that? Of course we've tried that. It's like when we talk to the dietitian about Oliver's diet, we've been round and round and round so many times with different disciplines and professionals that if we have one more dietitian come to us and say, well, do you know the food groups? So, of course we know the food groups. And have you tried that? Of course we've tried that. We've been doing this for 14 years. So we know what we're doing. We've not managed to find that formula that gets us as close to a normal life as we would like for all of us. And the important thing to emphasize here, as I've always said, is that we would never change Oliver for the world. We don't want to change who he is as a person. The autism makes him who he is. The only thing that I would want to change for him would be to take away his fears, his anxieties, the pain that he feels with things like his sensory processing disorder. It must be awful for him because there are times when to him it must feel like we are trying to make him fit the world around him. And to be honest, I think we should flip that on its head at times, because Oliver is such a clever and enlightened individual. I think we'd all be better off in this world if we tried to make the world fit Oliver. I think he's got it figured out and the rest of us are just dumb. But anyway, so there you go. I'm going to stop there. I'm going to wind up the video. I've talked to many friends, colleagues who have similar challenges with children who are going through diagnosis or already on the spectrum, so I appreciate those discussions. I always want to hear from you and how it's affected you and your families, your mental health, your well-being, your levels of tiredness, exhaustion. Massively interested in hearing from you and hearing your stories. And I do want to get some of you, if you're comfortable doing that, on the channel sometimes, to share your experiences as well. So thanks for listening. Thanks for indulging me. I know most of you come here for the tech. And there'll be some of you who are like, oh, not another personal video, but it's something I'm passionate about sharing. Anyhow, thanks for watching. Please give me a like if you've enjoyed the video. Please hit the subscribe button, hit the notifications bell. I couldn't remember what that was called there for a second. Ring that bell and click the join button if you want to consider becoming a member as well. You take care. See you next time. Bye-bye.